Alright class, in this video we're going to go over some practice problems here from our notes. Last time we picked out which type of transformation these were, whether they were reflections, rotations, or translations. But we did not answer this part, explain your answer, because we needed to do the transformation patty paper activity first, and we needed to have that table of results in which we found whether or not corresponding points were changed or preserved, or whether orientation was changed or preserved, because those two things are going to tell us specifically which type of transformation we are talking about. So, in number one, we have a reflection. We said last time if I have a line of reflection here in between these two, it would be where I could fold them over and match them up, and that would be a reflection. But I would have a hard time explaining why it is a reflection just because it flips. That's not a very good explanation right there. So I want something more specific that really tells me I am looking at a reflection in particular and not a translation or a rotation. So we're going to use the distance between corresponding points and orientation to help us with those explanations. So if I look at the distance between corresponding points, I am going to come here and pick a point B and B prime. Those are my corresponding points there, B and B prime. And then I have A and A prime. I can tell that the distances there, the two purple lines, are going to be different lengths. So that means the distance between corresponding points has changed. So the distance between A to A prime is different, or is changed compared to B prime. So I am going to add that to my explanation. The distance between corresponding points has changed, and I just realized I put my abbreviation for between instead of the full word in here. We'll change that, at least on this one, so that you guys understand, or you guys see what my shorthand was there. So the distance between corresponding points has changed. Now let's look at orientation. I'm going to take these segments off of here so that we can see the next part a little bit easier. So if I take my points and I start at any letter that I want to, let's go ahead and start at my A. I can work clockwise around this figure and just figure out which letters I'm getting as I'm moving around. So for this one, I got A first, then B, then C, then D. So I'm going to type that off to the side. So I had A, B, C, and then D. So if I tried to do that for this other side, starting at A and again working clockwise this way, now instead of A, B, C, D, I get A, D, C, B. So let me type that out. A, D, C, B. From A to D to C to B. And really that would be A prime, D prime. Whoop. C prime and B prime. So because the letters are in a different order, that means my orientation has also changed. hard time writing that word. So reflection is going to happen, a reflection is going to happen when the distance between those corresponding points, A and A prime, B and B prime, is different or has changed, and the orientation has also changed. So the order of those letters has changed. If I'm looking at a translation here, let's look at the distance between those points again. So if I have C to C prime, B to B prime, and A to A prime, not only are those purple lines heading in the same direction, but they're also the same length. So since the distance stayed the same, I can go ahead and add that the distance between corresponding points is preserved. And then if I look at the orientation, starting at one of my letters, I can start at A again, and heading around clockwise, I get ACB, and here I get, again, ACB. So the orientation is also preserved. Rotation is going to look a little bit different. Again, that's why we can use these, because no one is going to be the same. So this one had both of them changing, this one had both of them preserved. So let's look at a rotation. If I try to look at the difference or compare the difference between these two coordinating points, A prime and A, and let's say C prime and C, I can see that the purple line on the top is much longer than the purple line on the bottom. So the distance between corresponding points has changed. Those distances were different. So changed. The orientation, though, if I start at A and go around clockwise, you don't necessarily always have to start at A. It's just kind of a convenient place to start. If I go start at A and I work clockwise, so just the same way that the clock hand would move, I go A, E, D, C, B, A, E, D, C, B. So it doesn't matter whether I'm looking at the original, the pre-image, or the image, I am going to be looking at the same orientation or order of letters. So the orientation is preserved. So again, reflection, corresponding point, the distance between corresponding points would change, the orientation would change, so both of those would change for reflection, translation, both of them would be preserved. Rotation would have one being changed and one being preserved. The fact that none of those three definitions is the same allows me to use that as a explanation for why those are the transformations that I want. So for our in-class learners, we're going to go ahead and talk more about these in class. For my online learners, we're going to go ahead and talk, or I want you guys to go ahead and try these on your own, and I will just post the answer key for this section. If you have any questions, just let me know. Have a great evening. Bye.